You're listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Camuno here, and we are back with episode 41 of the Money Monopolizers podcast. And I'm here with my co-host, Marlon Walls. Marlon, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I just say that out of formality, but in reality, I'm suffering because I just gave you the whole rundown of my life, talking about trying to finish up my thesis and everything, and that's really just been drowning. But all I can see is that there's 2 more months left, and I will be done here, and I will be moving on with my life. By the time this releases, I'll probably be 1 month left, so I'm really excited for that.
Oh yeah, sure.
So it's nearing its end now, and I'm just excited for the end to come. So other than that, we just enjoyed this episode. We let you go ahead and introduce our special guest for today.
Yeah. Well, just real quick. I mean, yeah, because I guess when y'all hear this, it'll be like end of May, or mid-May. Not end of May. Yeah, mid. I don't know. 4 weeks from now, 3 to 4 weeks. But I don't know where we'll be by this time. You know, in terms of like the quarantine. I really just want to say that. I mean, I'm really grateful for this time too. To like. I mean, I have learned so much just in these past few weeks, just about so many other things that I've been wanting to study and learn about. And, you know, I've spent money on courses, spent the time to actually get educated. So I'm really, really, you know, I love it. Like, that's probably my one of my favorite pastimes is buying courses and then just taking them. You know, you get the knowledge, you pay for someone's knowledge, and then you have it forever. And now you use those skills to repay to get your return on that investment on that course.
You're using your time wisely during this quarantine where you're not dwelling in it, but you're trying to use this time to self-educate and be able to be prepared for whatever may happen after the quarantine is over. So you get putting yourself ahead, definitely.
Yes. So, yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to mention that. So I just something I recommend people should do it. If we still in quarantine, like you still got time. Just, keep studying, find something you want to learn about, keep listening to Money Monopolizers. And you know, you be good money. But yes, we have a great episode for y'all today. Episode 41, we talked to Marques and Shyra of Black, Married, and Debt Free. If y'all have been listening to us for a while, I think right after episode 20, we put out our interview on their podcast, and they interviewed us last October. You should go listen to that episode to kind of find out who we are. And what we're doing, as opposed to episode 1. It's probably a little more polished. But yeah, I mean, let's get on with this episode though. So we interviewed Marques and Shyra of Black, Married, and Debt Free, and it was super, you know, enlightening episode. You know, we talk a lot about, or I will say this. So we don't ever talk about our journey in terms of like, you know, debt payoff and all of that, because we don't have a debt payoff journey, right? So that's why you never really hear us talk about student loans. That's why you don't hear us talk about credit card debt or car debt, anything. All we have is leverage. That's really all we do. It's the good debt, right? So we don't ever talk about the other debt because we don't have it. And the only reason I say that is because I know a lot of people think that. But what we do instead is we bring people on that can share their experiences, right? Because they can provide a lot more value in terms of paying down debt than we can, because we haven't done it. Like, we can tell you what you should do, because I mean, it's fundamental principles, but these people have actually done it, right? So I like bringing these people onto, you know, this platform, our platform, to talk about it instead of, you know, us talking about it, because I mean, we haven't done it. So, you know, that's what they really got into today. They paid off $120,000 of debt in 2.5 years, and then they, you know, they leveraged that into two rental properties out of state. They live in Sacramento, which is, you know, a cooking in terms of cost of living. So they able to leverage that into 2 out of state rental properties. But, you know, we got into so much more than that. And this was a really fun, enlightening episode. So y'all should definitely, you know, listen to the whole thing, even if it's, you know, pretty long. But y'all should be used to that by now. Come on now. You know what we do. So, what would you think of it?
No, I like the part where you said, where you're just talking about, like, we're bringing on people who are relevant to these experiences. So if somebody has a certain situation that they are going through, like say somebody has a lot of debt, they can listen to a true teacher, somebody who has actually done it already before, who's paid down a mass amount of debt and been able to come to the other side of it. That's the people. That's the type of mentors that you want in your life. And I think with that being said, anybody who knows somebody in general, like just if you know somebody in your hometown, it doesn't have to be somebody famous. If you know anybody that you think would be a good guest to bring on this podcast, I think that would be a good time to recommend them to us, because we're looking for people all the time. So if y'all know anybody that you might want to recommend to us, we'll definitely take that recommendation. You can DM us, you can hit us up, however y'all can get in touch with us. We'll definitely take heed to that and try to get them on here if we can. But as far as the episode itself, I really like that how they chose their mentors and pick and chose what they wanted to take from each individual mentor in order to apply to their own life and build their own financial plan with that. So I think that's something that's key for anybody, because like I know we talk about Dave Ramsey a lot, talk about Robert Kiyosaki. You don't have to follow a one size fits all model. You can follow bits and pieces of each person in order to gel with what you believe in as far as what your financial future should look like. And I think that's what our guests today have really been able to do with their life. And I think that's what listeners should take heed to and learn from today.
Yep. I agree. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Hey, Marques and Shyra, how y'all doing today?
Doing good. Thanks for having us on the podcast.
Yes, it's good to see you both again.
Yes, it is. We're super excited to have y'all on here. Like I was saying before I got cut off, but we definitely excited, to finally interview y'all and kind of get y'all's perspective. I know we should have had y'all on here, honestly, a long time ago, but better late than never.
Give us your general financial background, how y'all met, and then just like how y'all came to be as far as like married and debt free. Like how this all come about.
Cool.
Start with how we met, and I want to hear from him.
Okay. So we went to the same high school, but she liked me, you know what I'm saying? But I never really noticed her, I guess.
He didn't even know I was there.
Yeah.
He didn't know I was there.
Yeah. And then we went to community college, and we had a mutual friend. And so I was a year older. So when her first day of school, she happened to run into me, and the mutual friend introduced us. And then when she left, the mutual friend was like, she likes you, she want to connect with you. So I'm like, okay.
Yes, I told her to give you my phone number.
Yeah. And
you had it.
I had it for a while.
But you didn't call.
Yeah, I was weighing my options at the time.
You didn't have no options.
But so long story short, we eventually I called her, or I think I texted you. This is when texting wasn't even really a thing yet.
It was like 10 cents per text.
Yeah.
I just aged us.
Yeah.
Wait, how long ago was this?
Shoot, this is like 2004.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So about almost 16 years ago?
Yeah. That's crazy. We are old. So long story short, we, became good friends first. And then that blossomed into a relationship, and we've been married for 13 years. Okay.
So we dated for 3 months, and then he proposed.
Yeah.
We had a 7-month engagement, and then we were married.
So what year did y'all start dating? Like, what was senior year? I know you said high school. What year was that?
It was.
Well, we didn't date in high school. I noticed him in high school, but we never spoke, and we never talked until junior college.
Okay, got you.
Community college. That's when we met, but we were friends for a long time.
Yeah.
But we were friends for so long that when we finally started dating, I guess he had already decided that he wanted to marry me. So,
it moved quick.
It just moved very quickly.
Escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Now, as far as upbringing, with me, I come from a dual parent household. My mother and father were there.
Married.
Yep. Married. Marriage was is big in my family. All my aunts and uncles, grandparents have been married for my grandparents have been married 60 years. Aunts and uncles, 30 plus years. So I always saw marriage. So that was a good positive thing for me. As far as finance, it was never like a huge topic in my family. It was just like I heard my parents like say little things about, did you transfer money over? And like, it was just like you heard little things about finances, but it was never like, this is how you do money. This is credit. This is what credit's all about. This is, it was nothing like that, nothing formal. And so when I grew up, I kind of just had to figure it out, and that there were some growing pains there for sure.
Yeah, and I grew up in a single parent home, and I do remember my mom having her checkbook. And I know folks don't do that anymore, but anytime she was doing a transaction, she was always constantly writing it down. So she was really good about her money, but we didn't spend a lot of time talking about it. And I think we married super young. We were married at 21, and neither one of us knew very much about money.
Yeah.
Okay, so after y'all had so I'm assuming y'all graduated sooner or later, because you say you went to junior college. Y'all both had started the dating, and then eventually would get married. So after y'all left out of junior college and then like graduated into the real world, I'm assuming y'all had like some student debt, some student loans, maybe some other debt that y'all had accrued. Because I mean, this is kind of why y'all on the show, because y'all are called Black, Married, and Debt Free. So I'm assuming y'all had like a lot of debt. So what did that look like for y'all as y'all were graduating out of college?
Yeah, so when we got married, we decided to upgrade our life, and we did that by using student loans. At least I did. I had around a little over $30,000 in student loan debt, and I got some of the money was for things that I needed, and then some money I took for just in case. Like, I don't know if I'm going to need it, but just in case I do. And I totally don't recommend anyone do that, because it ended up turning into just in case I need some clothes, just in case I need some shoes, just in case, things that I really didn't need. We got a car.
We got a car.
We had a couple credit cards.
We bought a house. Now, thank God we bought a home in 2009, right after the crash. So we're in Northern California, and the home prices, we were about an hour away from the Bay Area, and we know how crazy the prices are for the Bay Area. They're not as bad here, but they are still high. But at that time, we got a 3-bedroom, 3-bath condominium for $89,000, which was crazy. Like that'll probably never happen again in this area. So we did have a mortgage, but it was $89,000, so that was good.
Yeah, so that's what our debt consisted of. The home purchase for us turned out to be a really great thing.
Yeah. But at the time it was debt, and then it was like we were getting better jobs at the time, so we were just buying more stuff, and that's how the debt kind of just blossomed. Before you know it, it's just like, man, we got car note and credit cards and all these different things. And yeah.
So what was the total debt? What was the total number? I'm not sure if y'all said it. What was the total number?
Altogether, probably close to 120.
Somewhere around there. I think closer to maybe 110.
Yeah, closer to maybe 110. And we were paying it down, just doing the minimum on everything. And we just thought, well, it'll take care of itself eventually as long as we keep doing this. And boy, were we wrong.
Yeah, we were wrong, because so when I got out of college, I wasn't working right away. I couldn't find anything because there weren't many opportunities in my field, and the market had kind of went down. We were able to get a house. I had a job at that point, and then I didn't have a job.
Right.
And then we had a baby, and then we had one income.
Yeah, so we got down to one income.
And that it wasn't much.
Yeah.
And we kind of hit this financial like rock bottom. And we were at a point to where our expenses were greater than our income. Right. And for us, that was very scary. And it happened kind of suddenly. And we were just like, uh-oh, how did we get here?
Right.
And for the majority of our marriage, we didn't really talk about money. Marcus, he was the money guy, and I wouldn't look at the bank account. If I wanted something, I would say, Marcus, could I get this? And he would say, yeah, just go ahead. We have more than enough. That's what he would always say. We have more than enough. So I would just go buy whatever, and I was just not involved in finance at all. But then we kind of hit this financial rock bottom, and we literally we sat down and we were like, what is really going on? And that's when we discovered we don't have enough money coming in.
Yeah. And if I could go back just a second. So like growing up, like all the men in my life, uncles, father, they were like serial hustlers and workers. Like no one really went to college. And I had some college, as they say. I didn't graduate, but I was working. So my mentality was like, I'm working. It was real machismo, like really chauvinist. Like I'm working, I'll control the money, and then that's how my mindset was. But then when I realized, dang, some things changed on my job, and I'm not making enough. Shyra's not working. Like I had so much pride that I couldn't just come to her and be like, hey, this is where we're at right now. We not making ends meet. I was lying to myself and trying to. Okay, I'm gonna just get another job then. I'm gonna get a night job.
Right.
Doing stupid stuff.
Right. You did because he took on like 2 full-time jobs. So he would work one job and then like go to the other job right after, and it didn't work. Like it lasted for like 4 days.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of how we ended up in this really, really tight financial spot. Yeah. And like I said, we had more bills than we had income, but when we first got married, we had a relative that was like, oh, y'all need life insurance and you need to start saving for retirement and all this other stuff. So we invited her over. She did the whole life insurance spiel. And then we signed up for like some other account. We were putting like $25 or something like that a month. And we remember that we had been paying into this like little savings account, and we checked and we had a couple of $1,000s in that account. And so we had to cash it out. Yeah. And that helped us to stay afloat. Right. Until we were able to really get back on our feet. Yeah. And then when we were able to get back on our feet, we said, you know what, we need to start doing some things differently. Mm-hmm. And that is when we started to get more focused on paying off our debt.
So that's crazy, because I feel like, just based off of the dynamic of that story, it sounds like y'all really, in order for y'all to realize a change needed to happen, is that you really had to hit rock bottom. Like you really, really had to see like, we can't keep going on like this. And I feel like a lot of people, it's like that for a lot of people. A lot of people, like, because, I mean, in most instances, like, if you, like, you can catch things early and you can, like, fix them. But for a lot of people, they can keep just brushing it to the side, like, oh, it's not that big a deal, it's not that big a deal. And then it starts adding up, things add up, and then it compounds on each other. And then, most of the time, they don't realize that a change needs to be made, until, like, it gets to a point where they can't literally even go any further than they've gone. Like, they've hit literally rock bottom.
And that's true. That's true that you say that, Alex, because I was sitting in a WIC office with a college degree. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I didn't, that it wasn't the life that I had planned. And thank God for WIC, because the cheese melts wonderfully and I needed it. We needed it at that particular time, right. But I just thought that my life was going to be a little bit different. Yeah. But I understand now is that I was in the WIC office, but it taught me so many things. It taught me humility. It taught me gratefulness. And it also taught me that I needed to be there, not just for me, but for someone else, so that someone else can hear our story, because we have come a long way. Yeah.
And for me, man, like y'all are looking at like a different guy, because growing up, I was a serial C student, man. Like 70% was great for me. You know what I mean? And I took that to adulthood, and I took that to life. So I was like, hey, if we're making the minimum, if I got a car and a place to live, man, I'm good. Like I literally aspire for nothing more than that, sadly, as I look back on it. But you're right. It took that rock bottom, because I was perfectly cool with living average. That was good for me. So it took, hitting rock bottom for me to realize, like, whoa, average is whack. Like I aspire for more. So it definitely took that for me to hit rock bottom, for sure. Here's a crazy thing. In 2014, we realized, okay, something needs to change, but there was still a process. And we talk about the stages of change. So we realized we needed to do something, but it was still a process to get to the point where it went into action. So it didn't go into action, I would say, until maybe 2015.
Right.
That's when we really started to, implement our strategies to pay off debt and different things like that.
Yeah. So we can talk about that. So what it looked like me going back into the workforce. Mm-hmm. But y'all, I got pregnant again right away. But I still went back. I got a job and I worked my butt off. And so now we had another income. And then it also looked like Marcus changing careers to make more money. And he also works the night shift. So because of that, we were able to eliminate the need for childcare.
Which was $1,000 a month at the time.
On a discount.
Right.
Okay, it was $1,000 a month on a discount. I will say that. Yeah. So Marcus took a higher paying job. He's working nights. I'm working days. And then also, Marcus, you have your online business.
Yeah. I'm a musician, so I was able to create multiple streams of income from that, like, doing selling music online, playing, doing stuff live events, and also like tutorials, and just saying, how can I take this one talent that I have and create different streams of income with it? So that was definitely a large part of the strategy.
Yeah. So essentially what we were able to do was we were able to live completely off of Marcus' income, and anything that I made, and then anything that he may have made extra above and beyond what he would usually make, we threw that at the debt. Mm-hmm. And so it took about, was it like 2.5 years?
Yeah, it took us 2.5 years in total.
Yeah. And so we were able to pay off 6-figure debt, right, in that 2.5 years. And then all the while, what we were doing was we were starting to get interested in real estate. Mm-hmm. And so we were setting up on real estate because we knew that that is where we were going next. Because the first thing that we realized after paying off all that debt was that the true key to financial freedom isn't debt freedom, but it's passive income. And I think a lot of people that mixed up. They said, oh, well, I don't have any debt, I'm free. No, because you don't have any debt, but you still have to get up the next day and go to work like everybody else. So that's not living like everybody else. If you stuck in the 8 o'clock traffic, So that's when we said, okay, well, we need to start working on creating streams of passive income.
Yeah. And okay, real quick, because there's some things you said in there that I really want to get into a little later. But real quick, I want to talk a little bit more about the debt too, specifically, because I mean, $120,000 of debt paid off in, you said 2.5 years, right? That's incredible. I mean, that's essentially a mortgage, right? That's what a lot of people, you can look at it like that. And, the fact that y'all are able to do that, clearly there were some things that y'all were doing that, a lot of people have no clue about, right? So can you talk specifically about like strategies that you use to implement the debt, like, or to pay it off so quickly, and in terms of like, budgeting and all of those things that y'all had used?
Right. So we try to get our expenses as low as possible. And so several years ago, cable was really popular. And so like people actually had cable. We were one of those people, so we cut the cable. We've changed our phone providers. We don't have a real expensive phone, just like little things to bring our expenses down. Yeah,
we call it we took personal and financial inventory. So Shyra's speaking more on the financial inventory. We looked at what are we spending our money on, and first, what can we cut back? What could we change? I got a 24-hour fitness membership. I don't even go to the gym like that.
Oh, yeah. I had one too. I had a membership too, and I wasn't going. So, I cut that. But this is the thing. People think that your life has to be miserable and you have to just suffer to pay off this debt. Like, I'm just going to suffer and eat cornflakes every day. Like, that's not true. We didn't suffer. It was great. I think that was a really great season in our marriage because we were working towards something that we were really passionate about. We had started having children and things like that. And the debt did consist of our mortgage. So when we became debt free, it included our mortgage. Yeah. And so for us, it was living off the one income and then using the second income to throw completely at the debt. So as soon as I got paid, we already knew where the money was going.
Right.
And then we focused in on our credit cards. We knocked that out. Then we worked on the student loan. We knocked that out. Yeah. And then went on to the mortgage and knocked that out.
Right. And I'm sure your listeners, because I'm a avid listener to y'all's podcast. So I'm sure you broke down like the different strategies, avalanche, snowball, and consolidation, debt consolidation. But we chose the snowball. And so we started paying the smallest debt, And then that would give us like little moments to celebrate. You know what I'm saying? So that was big for us, because sometimes when you're like, when we got to the biggest debt, which was the mortgage, there's not much celebrating going on, because you're constantly in that grind. And that's why I like the Snowball, because it gets you motivated so you can do that next thing. You know, if you start with the biggest thing, you might halfway through be like, you know what, man, forget this. So the Snowball worked for us.
Yeah.
Right. And I will say that this is just what we did. And we're not advising people to necessarily approach their debt in the way that we did. Because if we were, I don't know, if we were in our mid 40s or 50s and we didn't have any retirement savings or, you know, things like that, I wouldn't say just throw it. I would caution, you know. So I think that you have to plan long term. For us, we were able to knock the debt out in 2.5 years, which is reasonably a short period of time. If this debt would have taken us a decade or 15 years, I would have thought twice about that. So I think that you should hear other people's experience. You should learn from their experience. But when it comes to you, personal finance is called personal finance because it's personal, and every strategy is not going to work for every single person.
I think that's real key right there, because I do want people to understand that this may have worked for y'all, but it may not work for them. But something can't work for them. It's just about finding what does work for you at the end of the day, and just making sure it aligns with your goals and on your timetable of like of how long you're willing to endure this. Like you said, y'all took 2.5 years, but this really started back with like a transformation. Like y'all saw where y'all currently were, and y'all were like, no, this is not what we want to have for our life anymore. And I think what was good about y'all, you said y'all did the Snowball, so y'all were able to have like little gratification moments, like just little milestones, jumps that y'all had every now and again, where you can say, okay, we paid down our credit cards. We can celebrate a little bit. Pay down our car. We can celebrate that a little bit. So that's like encouragement to continue moving forward and go on to the next one, because you enjoy that feeling. It's like almost a high. Like I want to feel that again somehow, some way. So I'm encouraged to go on to the next one. So I'm guessing that y'all built some really good habits from going through this debt freedom journey. Like y'all build good habits as far as personal finance, being able to save y'all money, being able to invest it accordingly. So based off of all of that, how is this work for your portfolio now as far as your overall net worth?
That's a great question, Marlon. It is, well, I think on the surface, the first thing that you notice is that we go from 6-figure debt. We've been able to turn that into 6-figure net worth over time. And, you know, like Shyra was saying, when we were in that place, we had laser focus. So then that helped us to focus on, okay, what do we want to do after this? You know, Shyra would always say when we were in that process of paying off the debt, that it's a mathematical equation. It's going to happen. We've calculated when we're going to, if we continue what we're doing, the debt will be done at this time. So stop stressing on it. Now let's take our focus, that energy, and let's focus to what are we going to do after that. So we started researching real estate. We knew we wanted to own rental properties. So we started looking at, okay, exactly how could we take our situation and get properties and different things like that. So we looked into, you know, HELOC, and okay, so we're going to have our equity in our home. Maybe we can use that. And so it just, the habit that we developed was being able to self-educate, you know, because we had so much time. Now that the process was kind of taking care of itself, the debt payoff process was taking care of itself. So we freed up time for us to educate ourselves on what we wanted to do after the money, you know, after we paid off the debt.
Right. And let me piggyback off of that, because the thing with education is when you start to educate yourself, it counteracts fear. There's a lot of fear around debt. Like debt is the boogeyman. And if you have debt, you're irresponsible, you know? And I think that when we were able to conquer debt, I'm not afraid of it anymore.
Right.
And so at this point, we are leveraging debt in a responsible way to obtain rental properties. And as Marcus was sharing, at the time we paid off our condo, it was worth 3 times what we paid for it. And so we were able to use the HELOC strategy to use the equity in our home to go purchase another property cash out of state, cash flowing property, you know, and then we were able to get another property in the same year, you know. And so, yeah, so our portfolio is, we have 2 rental properties, one of which is completely paid off.
Yeah. And then Marlon just.
I wasn't done.
I'm sorry. I'm excited, y'all. I love talking.
And we're also invest in the market. So we're investing around 30% of our income into the market. So
so the habit of living on low means while we were paying off our debt, that helped us as well, because once we paid off the debt, we didn't just start saying now we got all this money. We took that money and we were able to put it in the market. So now we got the real estate that's popping off, and then we were putting away around 35% of our income to Roth IRAs and 401ks and stuff like that. So it's been able to really blow up our net worth a little bit. So
I think the strategy that y'all use is really like textbook. Like you could literally like write a textbook about building wealth using this strategy, because it's, number one, it's tried and true. But the thing I love about it, right, because one common theme on our show, depending on who we're talking to, right, is people are either going to be, this side or this side in terms of their strategy to build wealth, right? Marlon's already smiling because he knows what I'm about to say. But we talk about, most of the time, people are either, Team Ramsey or they're Team Kiyosaki, right? In terms of like what their strategy is. Yeah. So in terms of, because on Team Ramsey, you got typically the person that, they have a lot of debt, right? They have, 6 figures of debt. They're trying to pay that down, learning to live below their means, and they're not really investing a lot, but the biggest thing is paying down debt, right? And then, Dave Ramsey says, pay off your mortgage before you start investing, right? And then you got Team Kiyosaki, who's more so, financial freedom, getting assets, getting passive income, right? Debt is good, leveraging debt, all those things, right? And I think it kind of just clicked to me as y'all were talking and explaining your journey, right? It's always, I think the best, like the reason I say it's textbook is because what y'all did essentially was you utilized Team Ramsey first, right? And you utilized Dave Ramsey strategies to get to the point to where now you even have, since you paid off your house, like you did it to the point where Dave Ramsey says pay off his house. And I'm not to say y'all listen to him, but Dave Ramsey says to pay off your house, right? And then you get to that point. I don't listen to Dave Ramsey, so I don't know how much he tells you to go buy rental properties and stuff, but I assume he doesn't, right? But y'all now, since you had this paid off mortgage, now you have leverage now, right? And you can use that now to get into Team Kiyosaki and come on, in my opinion, the good side. Now, it's not. Neither of them are bad, but this is my favorite side. I like this side, and like now you've leveraged that to get to this side now, and now this is where you're creating crazy wealth now. You're going to build major wealth now, and this is like Shyra mentioned earlier. Debt freedom isn't the end. The goal is passive income and assets and building wealth with assets and things that are going to pay you. And so that's now where y'all are at now. And I was kind of unsure about it before we interviewed y'all, because, I'll go to y'all's page and I'll see like stuff about, obviously y'all have the rental properties, and then I'll see, the 401k and the Roth IRA and those kind of things. Right. And I was like, okay, it's kind of like mixed signals. Which one are they doing? So I was really excited to kind of talk to y'all about it and see. So, I mean, I commend y'all on that. It was like, that's beautifully executed.
Okay. Thank you.
Alex.
We've had many discussions because we were not on Instagram or YouTube while we were doing our debt-free, what they call debt-free journey. People, I started with this, and now like we were totally out of the loop. Mm-hmm. And so once we paid off our debt, we're like, ooh, let's start a YouTube channel.
We thought we was gonna be the first ones.
We thought we were the first ones, right? And then we just called it Black American Debt-Free because that's where we were, and that identified with where we were at that particular time, which was several years ago. So we started that, and then we're like, oh. When we start running into other people, oh my gosh, there's tons of people that do this and are talking about this.
Right.
And I think debt freedom is important. If you want to know how to be debt free, you can look at Ramsey. But if you want to build wealth, I don't know that would be the person that I personally would recommend. And at the end of the day, Dave Ramsey didn't pay off this debt. We paid off this debt, and I'm not giving him for what we did. And I don't think other people should do that either. We paid off those bills. Right. Thank you, Lord, for the help. But he didn't do it, we did. Right. And so I don't like when I see people of color, when I see Black people saying, I did ABC because, no, you did it. Own it. You paid off that 6-figure debt. own it. You bought that rental property, you own it, so that we can build up some new speakers, some new leaders, some new financial gurus. I want to talk about the money monopolizers and how they're making a difference. I love Robert Kiyosaki, but I want to talk about what y'all doing. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Man, no. I need you to put Alex, put like this church music in the background. Because she started preaching.
Yeah. And Alex, you pretty much described it perfectly, because so like we used to listen to like the Dave Ramsey show, and that was like that sparked the thing like, oh, people are paying off their debt. Like I didn't even know people were doing that before I heard. So I give him credit for that. Like the inspiration, the spark, okay, cool. But then the thing with Dave Ramsey people is like
it's a cult.
Yeah, you can't like a piece of his philosophy. If you don't like it all, they disown you. So it's like, all right, well then I'm out then.
I'm out.
So it's funny because Shyra read Rich Dad Poor Dad. She's like, Marcus, you gotta check this out. This is before we really got started. So I drive a lot at work. I listened to the whole audiobook in one shift. And I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Now this I can get with. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, we took a little bit of both, you know, I guess you could say, but we made it our own. And that's what Shyra is trying to say. It's like,
right.
Hey, yeah.
And some of it's, I don't want to go too far off, you know, but when you study, you start to build your own financial philosophy. You know, we're talking about Dave Ramsey. Okay, like the $1,000 emergency fund. Well, according to research, the average cost of a family emergency is $2,000. That is what the research has shown. Okay, so if you want to continue to spill out information that's not backed by what people are actually experiencing in the real world, I feel that is personally irresponsible. You know, but anywho, I digress. And we can move on.
At the end of the day, I just like that you had, so basically you can choose your mentors at the end of the day. And some mentors may have something for you, some mentors may have something else for you, but it's up to you to listen to, like, pick and choose what you want to listen to from each mentor and make it apply to your own financial philosophy at the end of the day. So that, just kudos to y'all on that. Go ahead, Alec.
Yeah, and the best thing about like the times we're in now is that, like you said, Shyra, Dave Ramsey isn't the only mentor. Kiyosaki isn't the only mentor now. You have Shyra and Marcus now that are mentors. You got Alex and Marlon now that are mentors. You got a bunch of people now you can take different things from. And now it's not like you said, a cult. You don't have to be a part of the thing. Like people leave you know, reviews on our page because of how we talk about Dave Ramsey. They're like, y'all are haters, whatever, and they gave us, you know, 4-star reviews for them. I'm like, we talking about like how we view it and how we think wealth should be built. So it's different. So yeah, I mean, that's really all it is. But so then as far as y'all's like I guess investment vehicle, because you talk about real estate, you talk about, you know, the 401k, you talk about those things. What are y'all like primary, like what is your like primary, I guess, investment vehicle that you would say is like the number one, I guess, one that y'all are using towards early retirement?
Okay, so well, I still work, and I work for a university, and I have a pension through the university, which is not a whole lot of money. So I have the pension, and then I have a 403b account through my work that I'm investing in, and then we have Roth IRAs, and then Marcus has his 401k, and so those are what we're using now. Yeah,
we're using, like I said, 35% of our income, 35% of our income is going to investing in the market, the stock market via index funds. That's really what we like to invest in. And then real estate, to me and Shyra have a plan that we develop on the real estate side that can get us where we want to be in 10 years or less. And when I say where we want to be, that means no longer punching the clock.
And that doesn't even include our contributions.
And that's not including the work contribution. So if we didn't contribute anything to the market, we have a plan real estate wise that will potentially retire us in 10 years. And we're kind of in you know, phase, you know, the early phases of that.
Working that plan.
But if we include what our contributions are to work, I mean, you know, on the index fund side, you know, that could be accelerated. But those two strategies, real estate and investing in index funds via Roth IRAs and 401k, that's really, you know, our retirement strategy or our wealth building strategy.
Yeah. Okay. When do y'all plan to actually, is there like a goal as far as like a date to like, get rid of the 9 to 5 and,
No, I don't like dread my job. There's some people, I hate my job. I hate it. I'm like, okay, you should have went to school for something else that you would actually like. I don't actually dislike my job. I mean, I don't know that I would probably work part-time. But yeah, I think that with the plan that we currently have, it'll probably be less than 10 years.
Yeah, and
he want to come off his job.
Here's the thing,
want to come off.
We're totally different. I want to be done today. Like if I never went to work again, I wouldn't miss nobody, and that's just me. So we're meeting somewhere in the middle. You know what I mean? So that's why I say we're really using two strategies. Shyra has preached to me like, I know we could do real estate 100%, but let's diverse.
We're diversifying.
Diversify a little bit, and so I think we're trying to marriage those two things where Shyra really enjoys her job and enjoys her career, and where I'm ready to be done. So that's why we're kind of meeting in the middle. And so,
and I feel
as soon as I can be done, I'm done.
He'll be done first, but I feel like we're pretty conservative.
Yeah.
We're not. I don't consider us to be over leveraged or the real estate is self-sustaining, and it doesn't require a dime from me. And so that's the way that it should be, though. Mm-hmm. But I feel that we are pretty conservative, and we're not just
hyper aggressive.
We have a plan.
I think some people miss like the purpose of passive income and financial freedom is that it allows you to open up your choices and open up your options of what you want to do with your life. Like if you want to leave your job, you can. If you want to stay in your job because you love what you do, you can. Like it doesn't matter. It's not like a requirement to say if you have passive income that you automatically have to quit your job. So I think just by building up that passive income and just building up that passive wealth overall, you will be able to have those options and then you choose what you want to do. So Marcus, if you want to leave yesterday, you already out the door. Shyra, if you want to stay for as long as you like, I mean, as long as you are enjoying what you do, or you can make your own rules. You'd be like, you know what, I'm coming in part-time now because I can make that choice for myself. And that's really what financial freedom is all about at the end of the day.
Bro, financial freedom / FU money. That's what we
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, then. I got you.
I love it then. So then real quick about that then. So what kind of made y'all comfortable then purchasing like the out of state rental properties? Because a lot of people, I mean, obviously y'all are in Sacramento, which I would never invest in, I wouldn't come near there.
I don't want to live.
Yeah. So, obviously that's like, something that you had to look at, but what made you like actually like comfortable with that idea? Because a lot of people, people we've talked to even last couple of weeks ago, they said, I don't even want a property in state, or I'm scared about getting one in state. How can I get one out of state?
Right. I like to use this analogy. Have you ever seen Coming to America?
Yeah.
When Hakeem or what's it? Hakeem
when he spun the globe.
When he spun the globe and they didn't know where they were going to go to find their queen.
Yeah.
And then they just landed on Queen. I mean, that's pretty much how we landed in North Carolina. Yeah. I mean.
We had a friend. I had a friend that lived in Tennessee. He's like a business partner. He lived in Tennessee. We were looking at Tennessee like, man, Tennessee, that's a little affordable. We got somebody, boots on the ground, know. Mm-hmm. So I was like, maybe we could do that. Well, he ups and moves to North Carolina and moves to Charlotte. So I'm like, all right, let me look in Charlotte now, So I look in Charlotte, I'm like,
it's kind of expensive. Nice. Yeah, it's nice.
But then, since then, Charlotte is almost where Sacramento is as far as
the market.
But then, so we said, okay, so what are Charlotte's the second largest city in North Carolina. So we was like, okay, Raleigh is number 2. That's still a little high. Greensboro. Okay. He's close. If we needed him to, hey man, can you go check on this?
That's a false sense of security. He's never checked on any of our properties.
He hasn't. But that's how my mind was thinking at the time. That's what made me feel a little more comfortable. As dumb as that may sound. But then when we began to do the research, we started, researching other people who have done this. So we was like, okay. And I follow a gentleman, Morris Invest. I don't know if on YouTube. And he has multiple properties out of state. So I started looking at his videos and it's like, okay, this isn't as hard as it seems if you got your team in place. And that's what we preach to people. You got to have your team in place. Yeah. Property management. You got to have a good real estate agent. You need a champion for you. Someone who could say, hey, I know a general contractor I could connect you with, or I know this, and someone who can be that for you. And then that makes everything easier and puts you more at ease.
Right. And so we were able to do that. But first you got to get your money, because if you don't have the financing, or if you don't have money, then it's hard to build your team and you ain't got no money.
Right.
So we had our money together, and then you started calling different.
I started with real
estate agents in that area once we settled in on a general area.
Yeah. I started checking temperatures and talking with different real estate agents, and kissed a few frogs, you know.
You kissed too many frogs. Some people I just was not happy. I was like, you need to stop talking to this person. This real estate agent ain't gonna work out.
Yeah.
You don't want to believe me.
And so we found a real estate agent that had access to other, you know, people. He said, okay, I know general contractors. I know I have a property manager you might be interested in. So he began to like kind of be our hands and feet.
Yes.
And, you know, taking video of homes, you know, going the extra mile. And it made the process like, you know what, this is not that hard at all.
Right. You have to find someone who is just as hungry as you are. So the realtor that we had, I don't think he was like a OG, but he's on his way to like OG status, you know, and he was hungry and like he wanted, you know, to work with us. And that's the vibe that we got from him. And he helped us with both of our home purchases, and we still keep in contact with him. And we've referred people in our local area to him. And so he's excellent.
I love it. And I think that's the best strategy to use. Especially talking about finding your team first. That's something that a lot on Bigger Pockets they talk about a lot in terms of with David Green. He wrote the book the book on long distance real estate investing, and that's something he talks about a lot too. Is getting your core four. Right, you got your agent, you got your property manager, your lender, and your contractor all there already, because you don't want to. The problem people try to do is go find a property and then oh, okay, I need a lender now. Oh, I need an agent now. You need all this, and then the deal falls apart, right? Or it's people you don't trust. You need to have people that you trust there. That's the key. So I think that y'all are doing it perfectly, and people should really take heed to that. Marlon, did you have anything to add?
I do want to say that what's most important about like when you're trying to get into any type of investment or something that you haven't done before in general, it's always good to have somebody that's able to help you out along the way and start building up some people that are like-minded individuals. Somebody who's able to I guess be almost an accountability partner and also be able to help you out with things that you may not know, because you don't know everything, but it's still okay to take that first step and to try to do something that you haven't done before, especially if it's going to build wealth and passive income for you over time. Like most people are scared because they want to do everything themselves, and that's something that stops a lot of people from getting started in general. So I applaud y'all for just taking the first step in general, and then being willing to seek out people that y'all may not know, but building those relationships to where y'all are able to rely on them to do something for y'all outside of y'all where y'all currently live at.
And another thing, Marlon, that helped us was we went to an open house one time, and we met a guy who he was a lender. He was on the lender side, and we told him, he's like, you want to buy this house? We were just being nosy, kind of walking into an open house, and he was like, do you guys want this house? We was like, no, we're actually paying off our home, and we want to become investors. We want to buy property out of state. And he was like, well, I own properties, and that's not. I don't recommend that. You're gonna have to deal with this and this and that. And I was like, that made us feel, kind of feel like, you know what? No, we're gonna do it anyway.
We're gonna do it anyway.
I'm not gonna let somebody
speak that over me.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it was wanting to go against the grain, because where we come from, that's kind of unheard of. So wait, let me hear you right. You're getting into real estate, and you're gonna do it out of state. You got a lot of naysayers, that may sprout up when you tell them that. So that was motivation for us too, is to really prove people wrong and prove us right. I think that had a lot to do with it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that, especially when you say no, it didn't work for you. Don't say it's not gonna work for me, right? It's different. So,
and I think it was working for him because he came off very, to be very successful. Right. But at the same time, we weren't talking to a brother. I'll just say that, and I'm like, you don't even know me like that. We just walked into this open house and you're telling me,
Yeah, a lot of times if people don't see themselves in you, they might not give you the correct information. It might not give you the real, And so he's just like, I don't see it working for you guys. That could have been what was on his mind. But we wanted to prove him wrong and prove us right. So
yeah, and y'all did. So shout out to y'all for that. Okay, cool. So I kind of want to transition now into a little, kind of a different segment, I guess. So last year, y'all did a podcast episode, because if people don't know that are listening, they also do a podcast. Y'all should check out their podcast, Black, Married, and Debt Free. And it was like, I think in September, y'all did an episode about a Cornell study about they were talking about a decline in marriages due to a shortage of economically attractive men, right? So essentially men with good income, right? And one of the I want to talk about this a little bit too, because one of the quotes, and I listened to it, I re-listened to it again just so I could refresh. And one of the things that had came up, and I found the article too, and I saw this quote. It said that unmarried American women face overall shortages of economically attractive partners. Women are looking for husbands with an income 58% higher than those of the available men, right? So obviously, in love, we did an episode about this too. Love isn't going to pay the bills, right? Obviously, love is not the only factor whenever you're talking about marriage. It's different when we talking about just you're dating someone, right? Cool. Love, y'all going to McDonald's, whatever, anyways. So it's different at that case. But when we talk about marriage, it's a transaction to an extent also, right? So you have to be adding some value or offering something of value. But I do want to hear y'all's perspective on this for, just to give it to our listeners too, and so we can have this conversation. So do y'all think that, that is true, that there aren't a lot of, young men right now, black or white, that may not be fit for marriage?
I think we have a shortage of men who have a mind to be married. We
were reading an article yesterday about millennials in general. Marriage, millennials in general don't marry as quickly. I feel like we were the last of the breed of like marrying in your early 20s, and a lot of that was because we were brought up like in the church. And that was like really beating our head. Like you get married, you don't just be living with each other, But I think like the newer generation, like they want to get their education first. They want to get their careers going, and then they're looking to get married. So I think millennials are just marrying at a later age, and they're becoming more educated, and they know what they want. We didn't know what we wanted. I know I wanted somebody who was really a beautiful person inside and out, and I wasn't thinking about the money side of it. I remember we had a conversation about money when we were like dating, and we compared our money. Okay, so I make this much.
You worked at a grocery store too. Bagging groceries. And
then we were like, how much do we need to live? And Shyra, we left the conversation like we both need to make more before we could get serious about marriage. Man, I proposed to her a couple weeks later. Like, forget all that. I was in love, But I think that this generation, they're a little more, they don't do it like that. You know what I'm saying? They're more educated, more intellectual. They intellectualize things more. And it's like you said, Alex, it's more of a business transaction now. You know what I'm saying? We're entering into a marriage, but they look at it more like it's a partnership too. So I think women, they looking at it like, okay, it's love, but it's a transaction as well. So they're not just gonna marry anybody. I think that's what we see happening.
Yeah, I feel we were very untraditional. Mm-hmm. We didn't live together. We wasn't none of that, So it was, I don't know, it was a different time. And I don't know. I mean, I have friends who have said, I need a man to make at least as what I make for me to marry them. I'm like, girl, you got a PhD, like, no, they not. They don't have to. I don't think that they have to. I think that when you're married, it's more than just your income. There are many parts to a marriage, and it's not just money is one part, and it's an important part, but there are other parts too.
Yeah, because on the flip side, you could have a gentleman that checks all the boxes financially, career wise, but if he's abusive, then that's not a good thing too. So it's like a double-edged sword. You need to find somebody, not necessarily who's just educated or just has the career, but also somebody who's a good person, Right.
And the question that you should be asking yourself is, can I build a life with this person?
Right.
Not look at what I have. I already have a life and you have a life. Right. No. Can we build together? Can we make something together? That's what a marriage is.
So then, okay, I love that point then. So, but to ask in rebuttal against that is, you would say that education isn't necessarily as important as income, or neither matters, or it's just strictly should you build can you build? Is that how you like? Is that pretty much what you're saying?
And you build. Don't marry for potential. We're not saying that.
Yeah,
girl, I see it's fire. No, because people are who they are, mm-hmm. but people also change. I'm not the same person who I was when we first got married. I'm a totally different person. And so are you.
Yeah. And I think it matters when you get married too, Alex. If you're getting married in your late 20s, you're looking for something different than you were in your early 20s.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I have friends that are in their 30s and they're kind of still looking to find a mate. Well, you're dealing with people who may have already had a divorce, have kids. Like, so your tastes are totally different at that point. And your tastes are different at that point when it comes to career and education. So if you're in your mid to late 30s, you might be looking for somebody who, hey, you need to have your 401k need to be good to go. You need to have your career, you have some properties. Like you may be looking for that. So I think a lot of it has to do with the age in which you're in, you know.
And I don't know what this emphasis on is. He must be educated. Like Marcus was sharing, like he didn't finish a 4-year degree. And I don't care. I mean, he didn't have to. He's a very intelligent man. Okay. He's done, everyone he works with has a college degree. They pay for it. They work in the same office. And like, there's too much emphasis on that. Look at the person. Who are they? Can you grow together? It's not, I don't know. Yeah. You want to say something?
I think because I really like what you said, especially with the age thing too, because I mean, for us, I mean, me and Marlon, we're 23 years old, right? And it's like, I mean, Marlon, he's good. He already got a girl, so he's good. But for me,
girlfriend?
Yeah, he been with his girl for a minute, so he good money.
But, I mean, you don't want to wait too long.
Let's see.
I'm just joking.
6.5 years actually.
Oh, okay.
We started dating in high school too.
Yeah.
We start. I guess not two, but we met each other in high school, but we started dating the senior year in high school.
Gotcha.
Okay,
yeah. But see, he's good. But for people like me, who's in different situations, like my whole thing, like, because if you're like, we obviously, me and Marlon, we're not like in terms of like the typical 23-year-olds doing things that other 23-year-olds are doing. So it's harder to like find people within our age group, for me specifically, that are like kind of, I'm not saying that I need them to be like on a certain level. Like, you don't need to be doing what I'm doing. My whole thing is that I just think that because once, like you said, I'm trying to figure out how to say this, but like you said earlier, once you graduate like from school, well, for me, once you graduate from school, people don't get married as like earlier. So like when y'all were in school, a lot of people were getting married like in college and stuff, right? But like now, people are graduating, they might still be looking for someone, and they want to get their career started. You know, they want to be independent before they can, which I am a big advocate of, like being independent before you actually like try to, you know, get married. But it is a lot harder like to find someone once you get out of school now, because now you're looking at, it's a limited pool now. You're looking, you know, in the workplace or the grocery store or, you know, the library, stuff like that. So it's a lot harder, you know, now. So I don't know.
Nah, I feel you.
Yeah, I think the good thing is me and Marks were looking at some like statistics last night, and it says that millennials are divorcing less frequently. Mm-hmm. And it's actually those that are 40 and older where the divorce rate is like growing, but younger folks, they tend to they are divorcing less. Yeah,
and I think like how you said, it's because you're able to, you're taking more time to analyze exactly who you want. Is this person the right person? And there's less error when it comes to marrying the right person. So like you know, I definitely hear what you're saying, Alex, because you're not looking for just anybody. You want somebody who they might not be where you're at, but they got the mentality, you know, the right mentality. And
that's hard to find.
It's definitely hard to find. Yes. It's definitely hard to find. But you know, there's a lot of probably young ladies that are looking for somebody with, you know what I'm saying, with your mentality either. It's just about y'all having connected. You know what I'm saying? That's
I don't know what they got.
I do want to add on to that, because I'm thinking it may feel good to like find somebody early on, but at the same time, I think that during these years right here, like that we're in young adult life, I think this is time where people are just not finding themselves or just like figuring out their mentality that they want to have moving forward in life. And I know for me especially, because I'm currently at Purdue going here for grad school, doing a master's degree. These past 2 years, I've been really doing a lot of self-development. So this has allowed me to find myself more and figure out more so who I am as a person and what things I want to be in life as far as to be a spouse for somebody else. So that's one thing I think is like an advantageous of like maybe getting together with somebody later on as opposed to starting too early, because you may realize that you're not compatible for somebody if you start developing early on, like at these early adult ages, and then you like maybe grow apart from the person that you were compatible with when y'all were younger.
Yeah, that's good, Marlon. Like, so pretty much, Alex, to piggyback like what Marlon's saying, is I would prefer an individual take the time and find the right person and y'all stay together than to like find somebody young and y'all grow apart, and when you realize who you really are, and you're like, that was a waste.
Well, wait, the right person, like, I don't know that what is the right person. You're the right one. Like, no, you're two people, and as you're learning yourself, that doesn't end when you get married. That's a lifelong that's a lifelong thing. Yeah. You know, that folks should be committed to being the best version of you. It doesn't stop when you're married. And I think that maybe a past generation will kind of hide behind that. I just married the wrong person. No, boo. Look inside you. What was your role? And I don't know, it just kind of goes back to being committed to grow together, because you are going to change. I'm not the same person I was almost 13 years ago when we got married.
Right.
I just feel like that has something to do with the divorce rate, because you said the millennials weren't getting the divorce as much, and maybe that's because they had figured out who they wanted to be, and now they know who they're looking for in a partner more so as they got older before they got together with somebody else.
Yep.
That could have played a factor.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, all right, cool. So that is I'm definitely gonna take heed to that. I need to go re-listen to that, to be honest. But
he's part of the audience right now. He's like, sure, I'm gonna take notes, Mom.
No, that's why I be asking. Opportunity for me to ask. But there was something real quick too that I did want to add to this, and look, when I say this, I hope I don't regret saying this, but I mean, it's a podcast. You say what you want. So there was something that when I was researching the topic, I don't know if y'all know who Rush Limbaugh is. But he's like obviously like a conservative political commentator. And one of the things that he said was that, I'll just read the quote. I'm not even going to try to say that I said it. But he said that this story shows that feminism has come back to bite women in the butt. They're earning money, but they still have the same attitude about money. Now, he's essentially saying that women are regressing to like 1950s ideologies when it comes to marriage, right? Like, like, feminism is still here, but at the same time, I need a man that's going to make more money than me, and these kind of things. So do you think that, I guess I'm specifically asking Shyra, but do you think that that's like do you see any like validity to that?
That's a dope question.
I mean, that is a good cut. So, okay, let me just make sure I understand what he's saying. So what he's saying is that women's standards have become so like...
He's saying women went through this I'm an independent woman phase where they got their careers, but now they're like, okay, but now I still want you to make more, like I still want you to make enough to take care of me. But y'all went through a phase where like y'all didn't need no man. Now y'all want a man, and y'all want him to make more than you after you've got your career, different things like that.
Can I add another dynamic to this conversation that Rush probably doesn't know? I mean, he would, he's I'm assuming a middle-aged white man. So when you add in the context of race, it brings in a different dynamic, because it's hard being a black man. I empathize. Not saying it's easy being a black woman, but I think that historically, Black folks have been oppressed. But I think that adding in the dynamic of race, it just makes it more of a complicated question. Like, can I expect my Black man to be keeping up with, it's just, I don't know. I just think it's more of a complicated question. If we don't acknowledge history in some type of way.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times, like, especially with, I'm speaking of Black women got their careers and did what they had to do out of necessity a lot of times. So to now kind of say, well, see, now that you did that and now it's here to bite you in the butt, I think that's not right, because Black women had to do what they had to do. You know what I'm saying? African American men are incarcerated in higher numbers than any other.
There's not enough black
men out there
for every black woman.
It
just ain't gonna happen.
It's just not gonna happen.
It's a statistical fact.
Yeah. So now, you know, black women had to get out the mud, so to speak. They had to get their careers. And so now that they've got their careers, yeah, if I do get a man, I would like for him to at least have a mind to be where I'm at. You know, if he's not there, I'm just not going to marry anybody. So I don't think it's feminism coming back to bite them in the butt when it pertains to African-American women. Now, other cultures, I can't speak to that. But for, you know, African-American women, I just don't think that that's completely accurate.
But do we live in a society that will let black men and women rise together? I work for an organization. There are hardly any black men. There's black women there, but there's hardly any black, maybe one or two in the whole building. And it's, you know, so has society allowed black men and black women to equally rise? I don't think so.
And I agree with that too. I mean, I'm the only black man at my job too, and there's two of us, but you know, 2 out of 100. That's
right.
So that's this whole thing is really interesting, and really the fact that he said that too, because honestly, the trend has been of the last 10 years or so. Women are becoming more educated than men in terms of like who's making up a majority of the college educated labor force, right? It's mainly women now. Like as of 2019, the majority was women. And if the trend continues in that manner for the foreseeable indefinitely, it's going to be, women that are going to be marrying men with, less education and those kind of things too. But, just because of the gender pay gap, that obviously still is going to have women earning less than a lot of men, even though they might be more educated in many cases.
Right. And I do want to say this, and then I do want to say that I think a lot of times we confuse like our income, our net worth with our self-worth. A man is not worth less because he makes less than you. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get those confused. And I think that sometimes we do that.
Yeah, it's a great point. Cool. Well, I don't want to keep pushing on that.
So, yeah, I guess we want to transition one more time. Well, before we get into our Fast Five, I had one quick question because this was something that's like it's a current event because of, virus going around and everything right now. So that's leaving a lot of people unemployed. It's like unemployment's in tens of millions right now. It's really ridiculous. But I saw y'all post a tweet just a couple of days ago that said if you're a family of 4, like it means 2 adults, 2 kids that got a $3,400 stimulus check, and if you invested it instead of spending it, if you had a 9% return, theoretically, just say that after 20 years, it'll be worth $20,430. And so now I know from our experience that when we put out these type of posts that are telling you like pretty much stirring up the pot of like your choices you make in life, people are very willing to like jump at you and start and just pretty much make all types of comments at you, or just like it's very diverse in the response. So I was just curious to see how this response was for y'all given the situation.
Woo. Live was lit.
All we did was post a stat. Okay, this is just a math mathematical thing.
Yeah.
And folks, it made people upset. People were like, well, people are struggling. Okay, it was like 1 in 10 Americans have filed for unemployment. Well, that means 9 of y'all are probably still working or somewhere around there. So that is who the is for. Yeah. I feel people can do what they want to do with their money, but we just.
You know what it is, Marlon and Alex? It's a saying that's like I heard growing up, like a hit dog will holler. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like a lot of people see the statistic and it's like, man, I don't like that. Like, that's true. I don't like.
Yes, exactly.
Say something. They lash out. And it's just like, don't get mad because you internalize it and and you see yourself in this statistic or you see yourself in this post.
Right.
We just putting it out there. We didn't tell anyone.
No, we didn't.
We just putting this out there as information. And I think people just feel a way when they see it and they like, man, that's true. I don't want to see that.
We don't judge people by how they spend. You can spend your money the way that you want to spend your money. If you want to make a change in your life, sure, we're financial coaches. We could talk about it, but yeah, it certainly rubs some folks the wrong way.
Yeah.
But
Yep, and that's why I want to highlight it, because it's really just a call to action. It's trying to get you to that transformation of mindset more so than anything else. It's not telling you go spend your check on this. It's saying this is what you could be doing with your money if you had that financial education, or if you had the financial wherewithal to say I'm gonna invest this versus just spend it. But I'm not saying that you have to invest it and you have bills to pay. I'm just saying this is what you could be doing with money as opposed to just spending everything that you make. And I think it just goes back to having those multiple streams of income that y'all have. That y'all built over time. Like I know I listened to one of y'all YouTube episodes. Y'all say y'all had like 8 streams of passive income coming in just in some form or fashion, and that's just allowing y'all to be able to withstand these type of situations that we're going through right now. So if we're going through a virus, or we're going through a economic depression where we have no job income, we can still fall back on something else that's going to provide us with more income, regardless of what our job is doing for us. And I think that's really the call to action that you're trying to portray more so.
Right. And I don't know why folks got so upset, but the truth of the matter is that West economy been shut down for maybe 5 or 6 weeks. And if 5 or 6 weeks of no work completely knocked you out, then there was a financial issue before the Rona came, and that's not to make anyone feel bad, because we've learned some lessons through Rona too, but that's just the reality of it.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that's what people got to realize too. Cause we had did the same thing. I mean, Marlon had created that. I'm not just, I give Marlon the credit for that. And he can take the blame. But Marlon had created that when we did the it was about how you spend $1,200. No, the other one.
Oh, that one. Okay, gotcha.
About how you could either, what do you say, spend it on clothes. Like he had like the guy that spent it on clothes and he loses all his money. The guy that saves it, he keeps all his money. And then the guy that invests it into a vending machine, right? Or some sort of business or something that generates you more money. And then in the comments, people was, like, there was actually one guy. It's this guy. I'm not gonna call him out, but he's a verified dude. And I thought highly of him a little bit before this, but he was like, man, people, I mean, they got to pay rent. They got to do all these things. I'm like, well, then it's not really applicable to them. Obviously, if you have, yeah, if you're in a situation to where you need to pay this rent and you need the money for this, then obviously I'm not telling you to go spend your rent money on the vending machine, right? So it's like, come on, dude. You of all people should have known that. He's a guy with rental properties and all this stuff, and whatever, if that's how he is. But my whole thing is, I love all the controversy. I love it when people are talking, because that means they're talking about you, and that means your name is in there, and that means more publicity and all those things. So I love it.
That's where my head is with it too.
For sure.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up with the Fast Five. So this is kind of just where we ask you 5 questions and you answer them in 60 seconds or less. Usually doesn't end up being like that, but we'll try. So I'll take the first question and then we'll kind of alternate. First question is, what does success mean to y'all?
I guess success is being able to live the life that we want to. Choices.
Yep, exactly. Okay, cool. Number 2, what's your favorite money or business book?
You just said, you do the one you did earlier. Rich Dad Poor Dad.
I like Rich Dad Poor Dad. Let's go with
Simple.
that. I like that one.
Classic right there.
Think and Grow Rich. I like that one too.
That's another good one.
Yeah. Facts. Okay. Would you rather have $1,000 a week for life or $1 million today?
I'll take the bag now.
Without taxes.
Yeah, I'm sure 1,000 a day is the correct answer.
It's not a day. It's a week.
1,000 a week.
A week.
1,000 a week. Excuse me.
My first thought, what am I do with that? I guess I could.
1,000 a week. I know that's the answer, but I'll go with the bag.
There is no answer. It's up to you. There's literally no answer.
Yeah, we take the million.
Shit, I'll take that million. You could flip that million into way more than 1,000 a week.
Right.
Number 4, if you could go back and change anything about your journey, what would it be?
Would have started earlier.
Yep, started earlier.
It's one of the classic answers right there too. Yep. Sounds good.
Okay. So then where can people find out more about y'all?
Punches into the Google search and Black Married and Debt Free. And we're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and also on anywhere you get your podcast, the Black Married and Debt Free podcast.
Sounds good. Well, that was the first time that I actually ever was 60 seconds or less for each question.
Good. Yay.
Yeah, usually it goes over, so I appreciate y'all for that. But this was super fun. I appreciate y'all coming on here, man. We really, got to have a great conversation and got into a lot of great stuff. I think even besides like y'all's journey, just about things about in life in general, and really a lot of important things that people should really be thinking about and talking about. So I really appreciate y'all.
Man, thank you. I just want to say I follow you guys, and I really admire what you guys are doing. I get in the habit of looking at posts, but then I don't necessarily hit the double tap, But just know I'm always watching y'all, man, and I'm very proud of what y'all doing. And keep up the good work, man. Y'all killing it.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
appreciate that. Definitely glad to have y'all on here. Glad it came full circle where y'all have interviewed us. Now we get to interview y'all. It's been pretty good though.
Yeah, man, that was another good episode, man. I really enjoyed that one, especially what we got into in the second half. The first half of it was like, obviously, we got to provide that value, like give them strategies and stuff, but once we can really sit down and chop it up with people, have good conversations like that, that's one of my favorite pastimes as well.
I thought you had a note. I thought you about to take out a notepad for a while on that second half. Like, shoot, let me go ahead and write this down myself. But one thing I liked about their story was just that transformation that they had to go through. They had to really hit rock bottom, and I think that's like a lot of our listeners are in a situation where they are not. Like, they don't realize that they're in a financial crisis until it hits. So a lot of people don't realize that they're living paycheck to paycheck until a crisis like coronavirus hits, and they're like, oh shoot, I had no money. I was one paycheck away from being bankrupt and unemployed. And so now this is like a wake-up call for people, and they had their own personal wake-up call, our guest did, and that really allowed them to propel themselves forward and say, you know what, we're going to change the trajectory of our lives and build something better for ourselves. So
hopefully you got something from that. We're trying to add value as much ways as we can. Like Marlon said earlier, if you know anybody that you think would be a good guest on the show, please reach out, hit us in the DMs, let us know. They ain't gotta have too much clout. Just Anyways, that's it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday and will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you learned something of value today. If you did, we'd appreciate it if you rated us 5 stars and left us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also find out more info about us on Twitter at The Monopolizers or on Instagram at Money Monopolizers. We post informative content on there that'll keep you engaged, so check that out and share those posts. But until then, we out of here.
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Marlon share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time to take action.